Hello YouTube. I want to offer a video today of my two watches that I've recently modified and talk a little bit about watch modification, when it's when it might be beneficial for you, when it may not be, and what you can get from it, and maybe some of the pitfalls, and just talk a little bit about my experience. These are the only two watches that I've modified to this degree. I have done two 50 fathoms mods and have sold both of them, which really was a matter of just swapping out the dial. But this was about as far as I've gone. And so the watch we have on the left is the SKX 009. This is originally had the Pepsi bezel. I have a review of it here online. The reason I decided to modify it is I wasn't really wearing it as much as I really thought I would. The aluminum bezel didn't excite me too much. I kind of got tired of the blue and the red, and it didn't match a whole lot of what I was wearing, and it certainly wasn't something I was wearing at work. And I wanted something with a little dressier look to it, and I'd really been growing an affinity for the Batman bezel as I'd seen it on Rolexes and other watches. And so I really had my eye on what would it look like to modify the Seiko to a Batman bezel. On the right we have the 8926 OB original bezel. That's the coin edge bezel. And I've had the Invicta. This was the Invicta Submariner, with the one that generates so much controversy among watch fans out there. It was actually, these both were my very first two watches I bought when I really kind of got into the automatic watch thing. So at first I got the Seiko, and then about a month later picked up the Invicta. And there's a lot of hate for Invicta, and really what I would say is the hate ought to be for the brand, not for this watch. This watch is a really good watch, and I've really tempered my feelings for Invicta simply because as we move into the age of the Apple Watch, it's probably going to be Invicta that gets these millennials, these young folks, to actually consider putting something other than a smartwatch on their wrist. So, if going on a cruise and walking through the department store gets some folks excited about an Invicta, then maybe one day they'll be excited about something else. So this Invicta was a good starter watch for me. But again, I had gotten kind of tired of wearing. I thought the Submariner looked kind of didn't look as good as maybe I thought. In fact, partly what it was just knowing that I was wearing not a Rolex, that this was really a knockoff of the Rolex. Just, it wasn't getting much wrist time. I ended up with some really good watches, some, my Marathon GSAR, my Christopher Ward Trident Pro, my Tissot Visodate, a few others like that were really just getting all the wrist time. So what made me want to consider modifying these watches was whether I could make them watches I would really want to wear again. And I think that's very important. Is there a better look than what you have? And the problem with this, and if we take a look at the Invicta, what is now what I call my Invicta Yachtmaster, the challenge with this watch was that this is a very modifiable watch, and you see a lot of videos on YouTube, people modifying these. But the fact is, I couldn't find a look that looked better than the Submariner. And so why would I want to take a watch that I wasn't wearing a lot and put a less interesting combination together? And quite frankly, there's some pretty ugly watch mods out there, and I didn't want to modify this watch, decide it was ugly, and then it going back to not wearing it again. So I decided, again, when I saw the blue dial Yachtmaster that came out a few years ago, that really, a $12,000 watch, not something I'm going to own ever in my lifetime for sure. So, what would it look to modify it in that direction? So that was my inspiration. Went on this is a Dagaz, D-A-G-A-Z, I'm not sure exactly how you say it, but this is one of their dials. And then I found the bezel on eBay for about 15 bucks, maybe a little less. And what you're going to find is eBay is just about the only place, at least that I know of, to find bezels for the Invicta, because you're looking for basically a Rolex Submariner 16610. You're looking for that that size case and that size bezel. So I bought this, bought the combination, got it together, and then also added another mineral domed crystal. That was only like $8. And I'll put the links down below where I got all this stuff. And that was actually a pretty easy modification. I bought myself an inexpensive, I'd say $15 crystal press off of Amazon. And by the way, I'd buy it off Amazon because you can return it a lot easier if it turns out to be a bunch of junk. But I got a pretty good one. It was able to quite easily put that, press that in. The problem with the bezel, or the aluminum insert when it arrived, is it was just a little bit too big. It was just sitting on top and I couldn't really get it in there. So I began to just sand down the edge of the bezel insert, and just until eventually it would kind of snap in there. And then I used this piece of glue here. This is recommended on some of the websites. Just picked that up from my local AC Moore, and this cement was just able to put it right around inside the bezel and press the bezel insert just to secure it even better. And they will tell you it takes about 10 minutes for that to set up. I would tell you no, try get it on there securely, and I used kind of around one of my watch press dies to really put some pressure on that for about an hour, and then it looked really good. So not a hard mod. You have to know how to take out the crown, drop the movement out of it. You have to be able to replace the dial. This is not a video about all that. You can find those pretty much anywhere on YouTube. And don't be afraid. If you got a watch like this that I paid $80 for that wasn't getting wrist time, it became worth the effort to try to modify it. And so give it a try. But I would recommend you find the desired look that you want before you really get too far into it. Then we have the Seiko. I love this. I decided to put a little more money into this one. This is the ceramic bezel in bezel insert, and it is a domed sapphire crystal with double anti-reflective coating on the inside and outside, which gives it that really cool look. And this is just a stunning look when it was all said and done. I was quite happy with it. And whereas the bezel insert was the most challenging part on there, this bezel insert just dropped right in. I'm not even sure I used any of the glue. I may have used a little bit just to double secure it, but it kind of snapped right in. The challenge for the Seiko SKX, because it is a certified diver, it's got a really tight, secure crystal in there. And so when I popped the other one out, I tried to use the existing gasket, and the gasket just crushed. I pressed way too hard, didn't have it centered, had no idea what I was doing, just gave it a try. So I ended up kind of cementing with my glue the crystal in. But then I was really bummed out with the fact that I no longer had anywhere close to a waterproof watch. So I went online and said, well, I'll pick up a couple of more of the gaskets. And the gaskets aren't cheap. They're $16 a piece on eBay. Well, I happened to find, and again, I'll put all the links below, another company that I was able to get 2 of them for about, 17, 18 bucks, I think. So 90 a piece. And so that was a much better price. So I went ahead and got 2 because I knew I was apt to destroy one, and what do you know, I did. But let me tell you, when you're using a watch press to press this crystal in, you have to make sure you have the gasket in there just right. And when you set the crystal down, make sure it is perfectly centered on that gasket. You want to look around all the way around the edge, make sure that gasket is equidistant around the outside of that crystal. You want to be able to see it. And then instead of giving it this brute force, which is what I did originally, I just slowly began to press, turn and press, and again, there's videos online for this, and just really had to be careful and if it would start to go in crooked, I'd pop it out and start over again. If it go in crooked, pop it out, start over again. It took me about 45 minutes on the first effort to get close, but I could tell by, you can look in there and you can see if you're pressing the gasket in on the watch. Then so it finally did that. I popped it out and the gasket looked terrible. So then I had my backup gasket and very carefully began to press, and eventually it went in. So the SKX is probably the most challenging crystal to replace. When I was done, I put the movement out of it. I sealed the case and put it in water overnight. No leaks. That's not a great test, but good enough to get me started. Put the movement in the dial back, put the whole watch back together, and I feel more confident now that I know that at least it'll survive some splashing of water, or if I drop it into some water, it's going to be okay. I will eventually take this to a jeweler and have them air pressure test it and see just really what I can get away with as far as depth. Again, if you can get this crystal in there just perfectly centered around that gasket and press that in, and the gasket's really doing its job, then you should be able to use this as a waterproof watch. So hopefully I'll be able to get that tested just to make sure. So if you decide you want to do this, recognize a couple of things. Number one, you're probably going to put more money in this watch than you're ever going to get out of it. In fact, I'm trying to sell this. I added the Watch Gecko bracelet, which is a 4mm thick, wonderful bracelet, and that was about 55 bucks. So that I probably got about 180 bucks into this watch, and I'm not going to get that out of it. In fact, I even have it for listed on eBay right now to see if I can get about 150 or 160 for it. And if not, I'll take this and get it water tested as well, and maybe it'll function as a beach watch or a ocean going watch, pool watch for me, and then I can end up keeping the bracelet and use it for my GSAR, which is where I originally had it. But it's a beautiful look. The reason I'm selling it is because, a sneak peek, I bought me an Omega C Speedmaster, and I need to recoup a little money off of the purchase of that. I'm going to do a review of that as well, so hopefully that's up already if you're tuning in well after the fact. But remember, you're going to lose money, and number two, you're going to lose the waterproofing that maybe you had, so get that tested. And again, my advice is wait before you do it. Make sure you've got a combination. I love these combinations. It's beautiful, both of them, and it can really breathe life into your into a watch that you're not wearing as much anymore. Anyway, so thanks very much. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Give it a like if you don't mind, and we'll talk to you next time.